Bass in the Big Bad Garr by James Miller, illustrated by Chris Taft Miller. Once upon a time, there were 3 little bass fish. They lived together with their mom and dad under a dock on Little Lake Gaston. One day, the 3 young bass fish had grown old enough to go off and explore the lake on their own. They each set off to build their own homes. Bass number 1 decided to make his house out of mud from the bottom of the lake. Bass number 2 built his house out of forgotten inflatable tubes he had found floating beneath the water. Bass number 3 took his time to think about what would make him the best and safest home. His brothers laughed at how long he was taking to make his house. Ha ha ha. Bass number 3 finally decided the best way to make a safe house for himself was using rocks. So he set off to collect as many rocks as he could, which took him a long time. His brothers laughed at him again as they sat in their finished houses. Ha ha ha. Finally, his house of rocks was finished. One day, the Big Bad Garr fish came swimming around. He went to the home of the little bass fish number 1 and bubbled, "Plishity sploshity plishity ploo, I think I want to feast on you." Little bass fish number 1 answered, "From the scales on my skin, I will not let you in." So the Big Bad Garr grumbled, "Then I'll splish and I'll sploosh until your house goes kasploosh." So he splished and he splooshed, and the house went kaploosh, and the Big Bad Garr ate little bass fish number 1. The Big Bad Garr went to bass number 2's house and growled, "Plishity sploshity plishity ploo, I think I want to feast on you." Little bass fish number 2 answered, "From the scales on my skin, I will not let you in." So the Big Bad Garr grumbled, "Then I'll splish and I'll sploosh until your house goes kasploosh." So he splished and he splooshed, and the house went kasploosh, and the Big Bad Garr ate little bass number 2. Then the Big Bad Garr came to bass number 3's house and said, "Plishity splooshity plishity ploo, I think I want to feast on you." Little bass fish number 3 said, "From the scales on my skin, I will not let you in." So the Big Bad Garr grumbled, "Then I'll splish and I'll sploosh until your house goes kasploosh." So he splished and he splooshed, and he splished and he splooshed, but the house did not go kasploosh. The Big Bad Garr grumbled, "Plishly ploshity plin, I will find a way in." And he swam away in a huff. Little bass number 3 came up with a plan. Floating nearby was a fisherman's hook, with a tasty worm dangling from it. Carefully, little bass number 3 pulled the fishing line down into his chimney and waited. Soon, the Big Bad Garr came back and swam up to the chimney and said, "Aha! I told you I would find a way. I am going to eat you today." The Big Bad Garr swam down the chimney and noticed a tasty worm dangling in the water. He was so excited he dove for the worm without noticing the big, shiny hook. The Big Bad Garr was hooked. The fisherman felt a tug on his line and quickly reeled him in. "Oh boy, fish tacos tonight." Little bass fish number 3 lived happily ever after in his cozy house of rocks on the bottom of Little Lake Gaston. The end.